One other comment before we move on is that I think your words were for Bohr and all, uh, quantum mechanics should just be thought of as an algorithm for making predictions or explanations. And then in my words, or in Bell's words, there are no beables really to get at. We're just concerned with observables. But this is quite interesting to me just because of some conversations I've had on the show with some eminent string theorists, where I think there's an illustrative distinction to be found. And the string theorist I have in mind in particular is Andy Strominger. So he, of course, is well known for, with Qumran Vafa, using string theory to account for this major problem with black holes. But as I was talking to him,
In the information loss problem.
yeah, yeah, uh, Bekenstein-Hawking radiation, yeah, and as I was talking to him, it became quite clear that he's using, in the same way maybe as Bohr, or a similar way, he's using the apparatus of string theory to solve this important problem and make some predictions. But at the same time, he said that he has essentially zero credence that we will ever observe strings, that will ever confirm their existence in any way. And the illustrative distinction that I think is here is he still thinks that there's a fact of the matter about whether they're there or not. Whereas for Bohr, my understanding is we don't even ask that question. It's outside the purvey of science. But I understand this isn't the case with all string theorists. I think your friend Brian Greene, for instance, he quotes a couple of times this prediction of Ed Witten's that maybe you'll look up in the sky and see a cosmic string, and that would be a funny way to confirm string theory. But before we move on, let me just try to summarize really quickly what we've covered so far. So the
But can I say a
upshot.
word about?
Yes,
Can I
please,
say a word
please.
about? I think string theory gets kind of a bad rap about the observability, and from what you're describing of what Strominger said to you, I think he conceded more than he needed to. Okay, it's one thing to we are used to for a long time in science getting what I guess you might call indirect, but nonetheless very compelling and determinately empirical confirmations of some of our theories. Okay, it's not the case that the only way to reasonably raise our credence in the existence of strings is to see a string. Okay, we could show that certain other claims about the world can be deduced from the hypothesis that strings exist. And if we notice those features in the world, that has every right in the world to be called a piece of empirical data, which is confirmatory in the philosophy of science sense. Doesn't mean it proves anything. Things don't get proven in the natural sciences, but ought to reasonably raise our confidence in the existence of strings. People often say stuff like this about multiverse theories as well, which are closely connected with string theories. People say multiverse theories are not scientific theories because by stipulation we can't observe these other universes. That doesn't seem right to me. If we have strong empirical reason to believe that certain claims about the fundamental structure of the world are true in the sense that they provide the best and most compelling and most reasonable explanations of phenomena that we do observe. Okay, and we also find out that that those principles which we take to be well confirmed entail that other universes must exist. Okay, that's good empirical evidence, albeit indirect, for the existence of other universes. So I think some of the string people don't, would be absolutely right to defend themselves on empirical grounds more vigorously than they often do. Okay. It's not the case that the only empirical confirmation we can imagine in string theory is that we look up in the sky and we see a big cosmic string. There are all sorts of ways which, although there may be more indirect, are perfectly reasonable, perfectly compelling, perfectly continuous with the scientific tradition, in which we might be able to put ourselves in a position to say the hypothesis that strings exist are well confirmed by our empirical experience of the world.